The excellence of knowledge according to the traditions. Quotes from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah causes one whom He wishes to honor to be a faqhi in religion, i.e., one who has keen discernment, and He inspires him with the respect to right conduct. He also said, "The learned are the heirs of the prophets." End quote. And it's known that there is no rank above prophecy and no honor above the inheritance of that rank. He also said, "All that is in the heavens and on the earth ask for forgiveness for the learned man." End quote. What position exceeds that of one for whom the angels of heaven and earth occupy themselves and seek asking forgiveness, for he is engaged in his own affairs while they are engaged in seeking forgiveness for him. He also said, "Wisdom adds nobility to the noble and raises the servant till he reaches the attainment of kings." End quote. By this he is called to attention. He is called the attention to its fruits in the present world, and it is well known that the next abode is better and more enduring. He said, "In a hypocrite, two qualities do not exist: good conduct and discernment in religion." End quote. Do not doubt this tradition on account of the hypocrisy of some of the learned of this time, for by it he did not mean the fiqh of which you think. The meaning of al-fiqh will follow. The least degree of a faqih is that he should know that the next abode is better than the present world, and he is freed from the hypocrisy and sham by this condition, if it is believed and if it masters him. He said, "The most excellent of men is the learned believer who when needed is useful, and when there is no need of him he makes himself free from want." End quote. He also said, "Belief is naked and its garb is piety. Its adornment is modesty and its fruit knowledge." End quote. Quote, those nearest to the degrees of the prophetship, said he, are the people of knowledge and religious warfare. End quote. As for the people of knowledge, they directed people to work towards that which the messengers brought, and as for the religious warriors, they waged a religious war with their swords in accordance with what the messengers brought. He said, quote, "Truly the death of a tribe is more convenient than the death of a learned man." End quote. Quote, "Men are like mines of gold and silver." End quote, he said. Quote, "The elect among them in the days of ignorance are the elect in al-Islam if they have discernment." End quote. Muhammad said, quote, "On the day of resurrection, the ink of the learned will balance the blood of the martyrs." End quote. Quote, "On the day of resurrection, I shall be a mediator and a witness for anyone who memorizes 40 traditions of my law in order to give them to my people." End quote. Quote, "Whoever of my people will carry 40 traditions will meet Allah on the day of resurrection as a man possessing knowledge and learned." End quote. Quote, "Allah will put an end to the anxieties of one who becomes well versed in his religion. End quote, said Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Quote, "And he will provide the necessities of life from where he least expects." End quote. Quote, "Allah revealed by inspiration to Ibrahim, 'O Ibrahim, surely I am learned. I love every learned one.'" End quote. Quote, "A learned man is the person on earth in whom Allah confides." End quote. Quote, "There are two categories of my people. If they are in sound condition, mankind is in sound condition. And if they are bad, mankind is bad. They are the princes and those who have discernment, i.e. the fuqaha." End quote. Quote, "If there should come a day in which I do not increase in respect to knowledge which draws me nearer to Allah, then in the rising of the sun of that day there is no blessing for me." End quote. Concerning the superiority of knowledge over religious service and testimony, he said, quote, "The superiority of a learned man over a worshipper is like my superiority over the lowest of my disciples." End quote. So see how he made knowledge to be joined to the rank of prophecy, and how he put the down the rank of action without knowledge, even if the worshipper is not void of some knowledge of the religious service in which he perseveres, and without which there would be no religious service. He said, quote, "The superiority of a learned man over a worshipper is like the superiority of a full moon over the rest of the planets." End quote. Quote, "On the day of resurrection, 3 groups will intercede: the prophets, then the learned, then the martyrs." End quote. How great is a rank which follows prophecy and is above martyrdom. He said, quote, "Allah is not worshipped by anything more excellent than discernment in religion. And I'm sure that one person of discernment, i.e. a faqih, has more power over their adversary, i.e. shaitan, than 1,000 worshippers. Everything has a support, and the support of this religion is discernment, i.e. fiqh." End quote. Quote, "The best of your religion is the most convenient of it, and the most excellent of worship is discernment, fiqh." End quote. Quote, "The superiority of the believer who is learned over the believer who is a worshipper is 70 degrees. End quote. Quote, "Verily, you are in a time that has many people of discernment, few devotees of reading the Quran and reciters of public prayers. Its askers are few, its givers are many. In it to do is better than to know, for there will come a time to mankind when the people of discernment will be few, the reciters of public prayers many, the givers few, the askers many, in which it will be better to know than to do." End quote. Quote, "Between a learned man and a worshipper there are 100 degrees. Between each 2 degrees is the distance which a well-trained horse can run in 70 years. End quote. When he was asked, quote, "O Messenger of Allah, what action is most excellent?" he replied, "Knowing Allah." Pushing their inquiry further, they said, "We mean actions." "Knowing Allah," he replied. Then they said to him, "We ask about actions and you reply about knowledge." So he said, "Truly a little action with knowledge benefits, whereas much action with ignorance does not benefit." He said, quote, "On the day of resurrection, Allah will raise the worshippers, then he will raise the learned. Then he will say, O company of learned, I put my knowledge in you only because I knew you, and I did not put my knowledge in you in order to punish you. Go, for I have surely forgiven you."